Zahid Bashir. I am a faculty member at Department of Commerce, University of Gujarat, and a PhD scholar at Delhi College of Commerce, University of Punjab, Lahore. Today is 28th day of our training on SPSS, and we were discussing the different uh, categories of our model. Uh, in the previous sessions, we have discussed the simple regression, the multiple regression. Then we have also discussed the several categories of binary logistic regression. Today, we are going to cover the multinomial logistic regression. And here, the case number 8 represents that your independent variable may be quantitative, while your dependent variable may be categorical. It means we may have more than two categories. Previously, we have only two categories, where our dependent variable has only two categories previously. But today, we are going to consider a dependent variable where we have more than two categories. So what we need to do, first of all, we need to consider this data set. It will basically cover the overall procedure that we are going to consider for today's session. So let me show you the data set. Here you can find here the age categories. As a first variable, there are four categories of age. Then you can find here the gender, uh, which is represented by 0 and 1 as a male and female. Then you can find out here the marital status, like married or unmarried. The session was uninterrupted for a temporary period. I was discussing about the type of variable here. Then you have a variable with the lifestyle as a label. So it may be inactive lifestyle or active lifestyle here. Then you can see the breakfast preference. So, what is your breakfast preference? Do you eat breakfast bar, oatmeal, or cereal as a option or as a preference of your breakfast? So there is a salary variable here, and we can remove all other variables from here, which are basically not required. So first of all, we need to understand this particular data set so we can apply the procedure. Here it is. So it is the specific detail of case number 8, where your independent variable is quantitative and your dependent variable is categorical. It means that we have more than two categories with our dependent variable. So we are particularly interested in measuring the impact of salary on break-fast preference. So salary is basically the quantitative variable, while break-fast preference, as we have seen, that there are three categories in break-fast preference, like cereal, oatmeal, and breakfast bar. So we have more than two categories in our dependent variable. That is why we are going to use the multinomial logistic. So the null hypothesis is there is no impact of salary on breakfast preference. And alternative hypothesis is there is an impact of salary on breakfast preference. So in this case, we have three categories in dependent variable. So while running the model, first we have to set the reference category first or last, and further our independent variable is quantitative, therefore we will add it in covariate. So first of all, we can consider here that salary is our independent variable, and breakfast preference, B fast, is basically our dependent variable. So what we need to do, we go to analyze, we go to regression, and here you can find the multinomial logistic regression. So what we need to do, we need to put our dependent variable, which is breakfast preference, in the dependent list. Then we need to put our independent in the covariate list. Always remember, if you are using categorical independent variable, then you need to put in factor box. But if you are using quantitative or continuous variable as an independent variable, then you need to put it in the covariate section. The second thing that you need to do is to consider your dependent variable with reference category. As we have seen that there are three categories in our dependent variable. So we need to tell whether we want to consider the last one as a reference category or the first one as a reference category. As I have shown you, let me show you. This is the breakfast preference set. So there are three categories here: breakfast bar, oatmeal cereal. So I need to tell the software whether I want to consider the first as a reference category or the last as a reference category. So for me, the first would be the reference category here. So I will tell the software that the preference breakfast, the salary as a covariate, and the reference category for my dependent variable. The first would be my reference category. So I can put it here. If I want to consider the last one as a reference category, I need to select it. And if I want to consider the any other number other than the first and the last, I can put it here. So click on continue and click on OK. So it will let you know the results of the model. There is no 0 and 1 block. You can see just the results. So here you can see shadow R square, which is very low here. And you can see here the impact. The model is not statistically fit here. And you can see here the likelihood test ratio. You can see here the impact of your independent variable here, which is positive, which is positively associated with your dependent variable. And here is the result, which is basically required for interpretation. This is basically the table which you are going to use for your, you can say, for your interpretation purpose. So here you can see the preferred breakfast as a reference category because this was the first one amongst our model. If we see here, this was the model. So we have considered that breakfast bar is the reference category. So whenever we are going to interpret oatmeal, we are going to compare the result with breakfast bar. Whenever we are going to consider the cereal, we are going to compare its result with breakfast bar. So the other categories would be compared with the reference categories here. So you can see the results. You can see the intercept value in case of oatmeal and the impact of salary. So the impact of salary is basically 0 here. You can see here the significance value is also not significant. So there is no impact of salary in case of oatmeal as compared to preferred breakfast. In the other way, you can also see here there is intercept value. Intercept value means that this is the reference category here. So as compared to breakfast or preferred breakfast, the oatmeal, in case of oatmeal, salary is giving no impact. But the preferred breakfast is giving a positive impact which is also not significant here. You can see. So in the same way, you can also consider the cereal. So cereal is giving no impact with salary. So salary is not giving any impact with cereal. However, the breakfast is giving a positive impact, which is also not significant here. So this is how you can consider the multinomial logistic model. In the next case, case number 8, if we consider the next case, case number 9. here your independent variable becomes binary and your dependent variable becomes categorical. So dependent variable will not change while your independent variable will change here. So we can see here, is there any impact of lifestyle on breakfast preference, cereal, oatmeal, and breakfast bar? So lifestyle is basically a binary variable, whether you are following an active lifestyle or you are following an inactive lifestyle. So there is no impact of lifestyle on breakfast preference. There is an impact of lifestyle on breakfast preference. In this case, we have three categories in the dependent variable. So we will be, while running the model first, we have to set the reference category first or last. So we will consider the first as a reference category. As our independent variable is binary, so we need to take it into the factor box rather than covariates. So that is basically the difference between the previous model and this model. So we go to analyze, we go to regression, we go to multinomial logistic. The dependent variable will be same, and we need to consider the lifestyle as a factor variable because this is the binary variable here. So we can click on OK and you will see the results. Now, in this case, the model is statistically fit because the sig value is less than 5%. You can also see the Cox and Snail R square is approximately 6.7%. And you can also see the impact of lifestyle. It is significantly associated because the chi-square indicates the association between the variables. So we can say there is significant association of lifestyle variable with the breakfast preference. But here it is the model. So we have basically two type of lifestyle. If you see the model here, this is the lifestyle variable. Here you can see if a person is active in his lifestyle, uh, he's very or she is very active, it is indicated by 1. And if the person is not active in his lifestyle, it is indicated by 0. So we need to interpret this model in this way. Here, lifestyle 0 means inactive and lifestyle 1 means active. So we have considered here that in case of oatmeal, as compared to preferred breakfast, those who are inactive in their lifestyles are positively and significantly impacting their breakfast preference for oatmeal as compared to preferred breakfast. Let me say it again. Those who are inactive, because in case of active you see 0 here. So those who are inactive in their lifestyles are positively and significantly impacting their breakfast preference for preferred breakfast as compared to oatmeal breakfast. Oatmeal, they prefer oatmeal as their breakfast preference as compared to the preferred breakfast bar. So this is how this is preferred breakfast bar. So those who are inactive in their lifestyles are significantly considering cereal as their preferred breakfast as compared to breakfast bar. So let me write here for your consideration. Let me take the screenshot so that I can interpret here like this. So let me show you this graph and let me have some interpretation. Now let me interpret here in this part. For example, this is the text one. So I am interpreting parameter estimates. So first of all, those yes, those with inactive lifestyle because zero means inactive. So those with inactive lifestyles are positively and significantly preferring preferring to consider oatmeal as compared to what was the reference category? Breakfast bar as compared to breakfast bar. Now, this is the interpretation of this first part of this table. In the same way, you can interpret the second part. Those, those with inactive lifestyle are positively and significantly prefer to consider the cereal as compared to breakfast bar. So what we have concluded those who are inactive in their lifestyles, they usually take either oatmeal or cereal as compared to breakfast bar. Or in the other way, if we suggest it in other way, we can consider that breakfast bar is preferred by those peoples who are active in their lifestyle. So this is the interpretation. You can also adjust here the beta value and the significance value here, like in the case of APA style. So after doing it, this is the last one. That is the case 10, where your independent variable also becomes categorical. So is there any impact of age group on breakfast preference? So dependent variable would be the same, while independent variable becomes age group. So let me discuss in detail this case. Uh, Null hypothesis is there is no impact of age group on breakfast preference, and alternative hypothesis is there is an impact of age group on breakfast preference. So when the categories of our independent variable are more than two, then first we create a dummy variable, same as we did in case number 4 and 7. So we need to consider how many categories of age do we have, and we need to consider one as a reference category and the remaining as a dummy variable. So further in this case, we have three categories in dependent variables. So while running the model first, we have to set the reference category first or last. You need to put your dummy variable of age categories into factor box rather than covariance. So these are the consideration. So what we need to do, first of all, we need to see the age. So there are basically the four categories of age. So we need to consider either first as a reference category or the last as a reference category. And we can create here three dummy variables or three dummy age categories. So we go to transform, we go to recode into different variables. We can consider here the age, dummy, age 1, or D, age 1, change it. Old value, old value would be 1, and the new value would also be 1. and all other values are 0. In this case, we are considering the last category of age as a reference category. So click on continue and click on OK. If we see here, the first dummy of age has been created. We can say that we have created dummy for this category. The second one is this and third one is this. Fourth category would be considered here as a reference category. So transform, recode into different variables, reset, age category, then dummy, age 2, D, age 2. Old value for the second category was 2 and the new value was 1 and all other values as a 0. Continue. Okay. And it will create the second dummy here. You can verify. This is the second dummy. Now we are going to create the third dummy. So reset and again put the age here. Dummy, age, 3, D, age, 3, change. Old and new values. Old value would be 3. New value would be 1. And all other values as well 0. And click on continue. So we have created 3 dummy variables. As I have already stated that we have considered the fourth category as a reference category here. So we can create, always remember that whenever you need to create dummy variables for your categorical variable, always create dummy variable less than 1. So one of the category would be considered as a reference category and remaining you can create the dummy variable. So for 4 categories, we can create only 3 dummy variables. If we have 5 categories, we can create 4 dummy variables. So always remember that you can create a dummy variable by subtracting 1 as a reference category. So after doing it, we go to analyze, we go to regression, multinomial logistic. The dependent variable would be same. Now we need to consider our 3 dummy variables. And as we have already discussed that we need to put our dummy variable of age categories into factor box rather than covariate because these are also considered as a factor. So we can put it here in the factor, click on OK, and it will generate the results. Here you can see the model is statistically fit. The Cox and Snail R-square is approximately 32.9%. And here you can see the association between each category of age and your dependent variable is also positive and significant. And here is the results. As we have discussed that we need to consider only the impact. So we can consider here the interpretation of different variables are all statistically significant. Only age category 3 or dummy age 3 is not significant in case of cereal, but in case of oatmeal, it is significant. So we can interpret it that using the first age category. Now, what was the first age category? If we see here, the first age category was under 31. So those who were under 31 years of age, those who were under 31 years of age would prefer oatmeal positively and significantly as compared to breakfast bar. And you can also see here the first age category, it is also giving the similar result. So those who are under the age of 31, they normally prefer positively and significantly the cereal as compared to breakfast bar. So those who are not related to age category 31 can consider the breakfast bar as their preferred breakfast. In the other way, you can see the age category 2. It is also significant. So what is the age category 2? If you can see here, the age category 2 is relevant to 31 to 45 years. So those persons who are basically related to 31 to 45 years, those persons who are related to 31 to 45 years, they positively and significantly prefer oatmeal and cereal because it is also significant here. They prefer oatmeal and cereal as compared to breakfast bar. Then the third age category, if you see here, the third age category, which is representing, if we can see here, the value 46 to 60 years. So we can consider here that those with the age category of 46 to 60 years, they positively and significantly prefer oatmeal as compared to breakfast. But this value is not significant here. So we can consider that they only consider the oatmeal as their breakfast preference as compared to breakfast bars. So in other way, we can see that those who are less than 31 years of age, they normally preferred breakfast bar. And those who are greater than 31 years, they normally preferred oatmeal and cereal as compared to breakfast bar. So this is the overall interpretation. And with this, we have completed our regression cases. So we have completed the regression cases, and from tomorrow, we will consider the factor analysis, the EFA, or exploratory factor analysis for our further consideration. And after that, we will consider discriminant analysis, cluster analysis, power analysis, and then process by Hayes as the last part of this discussion. So if you have any question for today's discussion, you can ask.
No, sir.
All right. So
No, sir.
let's conclude this session. So thank you very much for joining, and stay blessed, and let's meet tomorrow for the upcoming topics. Thank you very much.